As the year comes to a close and Bungie is likely going to go on holiday and start giving us weekly posts, they decided to give us a little end-of-year wrap-up for the development updates in regards to, essentially, the future of Destiny in Codename Frontiers, which in this instance I'm going to read word for word, which will of course have flubs just because I am me, but in the same time I'm going to read this word for word so you can hear everything about it. It starts off, my name is Robbie Stevens, and I'm the Assistant Game Director for Destiny 2. Over the past few months, we've been sharing details about the future of Destiny 2 and developer deep dives, linked to the deep dive page, of course, if you wish, as well as the live streams. The Destiny 2 team is hard at work paving the way for Codename Frontiers. The new destination in Codename Apollo is content complete, which means we're focused on polishing the non-linear campaign Metrovania game experience, developing the finer details of the world, and fleshing out the numerous quests that you'll be discovering during the journey throughout the new frontiers. The core game portal activities, modifiers, and next-generation gear that will be Destiny's new backbone are coming online. We're playtesting every week and have planned multiple summits in the coming months with members of the Destiny community to provide invaluable feedback and help us hone our executions. Additionally, we're hiring a handful of gameplay specialist positions. Our specialists sourced from the community. We will be in the trenches in the dev team playtesting the new core gameplay progression and gameplay systems, as well as Codename Apollo's campaign and post-game. These specialists provide us the kind of perspective you can only get from dedicated players. Well, we'll be going dark on Codename Frontiers communication for a little while. The team needs time to playtest, collect feedback, and cook before we emerge with more details. Now, just going over that last little bit. Honestly, here's my honest opinion. Playtesting and summoning players from the Destiny community. Unfortunately, with this regard, oftentimes it is Destiny content creators and streamers. And unfortunately, that is not exactly the opinions that I feel like should be honed from. Yes, they should be listened for, but at the same time, you shouldn't be the ones getting those guys behind closed doors for their opinions, considering they're the ones who get to play the game constantly, and most of the time they have done everything in the game. So, to that respect, a lot more things will be trivial to them, as opposed to the average person who plays for an hour after school or after work and just kind of bops in every now and again, or shows back up every now and again for the seasonal story and then switches to a different game. Honestly, they do need not just the content creators. Honestly, if they do random polls of Destiny creators or random polls of even lower Destiny creators, or just random people that they find that have good opinions on forums and try to invite them out, or even just Zoom call them. Honestly, more opinions other than just the streamers and YouTubers will probably be way better for feedback, as opposed to, no offense to Datto and Aztecross, but just having Datto, Aztecross, Fallout, and all the usual people that do nothing but do raids all day and do master content, play trials. It isn't exactly the feedback that is going to get you all the way to the end of appropriate feedback. But I do appreciate that there is, of course, evolving and, of course, obviously still listening for feedback. The only thing I'm not so confident on is the fact they are going dark on communications regarding Codename Frontiers. I know during the holiday season, usually they go dark on communications, period, because they take, like, I believe the week before Christmas all the way through past New Year's off in terms of actually working at Bungie. However, at the same time, I do think we need more info. I know I mentioned this in a past tweet that they shared a concept art of a sparrow that will be in the Eververse store, and they said, here's a reward for listening. And as much as it did look cool, and I did appreciate the concept art, of all the things to concept art, a random sparrow they'll be putting in the Eververse store. Yeah, that's not exactly what anyone is looking forward to. They're more looking towards weapons, locations, designs, hell, even possibly new enemies, or reworked enemies. But to that same extent, I get it, they have to go dark, they have to test some things, but I still think going dark on Codename Frontiers is not exactly a great idea. Moving into the next section of Breaking Bones. Destiny has a long history of reinventing itself in response to community feedback and the expectation of players. Our North Star, however, remains unchanged. We strive to build worlds that inspire friendship and to create amazing gaming experiences that leave an indelible? That's a weird word. Indelible mark on people's lives. We started breaking bones and trying to fix things with episodes. Some of those changes have been well received by the community, like the Vespers host dungeon race. The team just found the right mix of challenge and length to elevate the dungeon to the bar set by the contest raids. And I can't wait to watch the next race when Heresy launches in February. So another dungeon for Heresy, I guess. Either dungeon or raid. New race, however. Other changes had a rocky start. Weapon crafting removed the joy from earning a random weapon, that feeling that any drop could matter, so we've introduced enhanceable weapons. The Revenant tonics were meant to provide loot agency in in lieu of crafting and give you a fresh way to chase gear, but we know we missed the mark with the tonic timers and not guaranteed a weapon from the active tonic. So we are in the process of developing changes to make tonics last longer and give better payouts atop a series of bug fixes planning for the 17th. Stay tuned for those patch notes. Also, we see how these changes are putting pressure on your vault, so we're in the early stages of planning long-term changes to relieve vault pressure that will start manifesting later in the year of Codename Frontiers. Now, just on that note, I know crafting is kind of an odd note, but for me, I feel like if you have a weapon, and let's say you get a roll on it, Hammerforged, Accurized, Vorpal, Rewind rounds, let's just say that for a random roll, I feel like almost, instead of crafting, there should be a library for gunsmith weaponry. And now that you've acquired those rolls, that's added to the library for that weapon. And at any point, you could call down a brand new one and use those rolls that you've already acquired. It might ruin the idea of going for the perfect roll, but at the same time, if you can Frankenstein a roll together in that manner, you could have one weapon or only the weapons that you would want for every scenario, and that could be an alternative as opposed to just having a few thousand weapons for every scenario. But, you know, that's just a headcanon idea. Regardless, moving on. In response to the desirability of seasonal weapons in the short term for Heresy, we develop a new tier of seasonal weapon dubbed the Heretical Arsenal. More details on these weapons as we approach Heresy, but rest assured that it will be clear when they hit your inventory that they are worth inspecting. These changes are stepping stones that help us evaluate our long-term plans to create deeper weapon chase in Codename Frontiers. Episodes introduced a new content cadence with acts. While there are new acts, loot, and quests rolling out at a consistent pace, this change created lulls in our gameplay calendar at the end of an episode. So, hang on. I'm going to stop right there. It didn't seem like there was lulls at the end of the episode, because I said that as many times, just as an idea. Just with this sentence. Let's say Act 1 happens, right here. That's Act 1. And then right here is the in-between from Act 1 to Act 2. And then right here is Act 2. Then right here is the in-between Act 2 and Act 3. Then right here is Act 3. And then right at the end is that last 3 weeks, and that rolls right into the next episode. I feel like people keep saying there was a lull in content. I feel like the content was perfectly spaced, so there wasn't 8 weeks on, 8 weeks off of doing who knows what. Because as a long-term Destiny player, I do know with seasons, as soon as it got to the end of the 8 weeks, my play of Destiny dropped immensely. If there wasn't a raid to farm, if there wasn't a dungeon to hunt a weapon for, or an exotic I was still chasing, I pretty much stopped playing Destiny aside from the weekly updates, and occasionally being asked to help. So, the 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off was actually far better in my opinion for the lull, or the, let's just say the reverb of playing Destiny, because 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off was prime for just the idea of, I can play some Destiny now, and then I can dedicate other time to things that aren't Destiny. Regardless, moving on, for the final weeks of Revenant, there will be a special pursuit similar to Riven's Wishes, where you can complete quests to choose from a list of new and desirable rewards. That's not a bad idea, I just feel like the reasoning is loose. Additionally, we've been evaluating feedback from Revenant's content rollout. We've made changes to the Heresy that strike a better balance between everything dropping on day one of an act versus meaningful reasons to return throughout an episode. We're taking an approach where the vast majority of the activities content will be available on the first day of an act, and subsequent weeks will add or evolve to the content based on the story. Also, we're adjusting the act rollout schedule so that there is less downtime in the gameplay calendar later in the episode. Heresy will be our last season in the episode format. The team has taken some big swings to create new activities that evolve throughout the episode and create big secrets to uncover on the Dreadnought. Now, just doubling back to that, again, I was fine with how acts were before. I was okay initially with reworking it. I feel like they didn't give it enough chance. You know, it's like old sunsetting. As soon as sunsetting happened, people hated it. They didn't really give it a chance to shine. Granted, I know sunsetting is a hot topic, but people denounced it immediately. They didn't exactly give it a chance to shine. Then with everything else, the same thing with the episodes. The first episode happened, people didn't like how Echoes felt, and next thing you know, with the immediate next episode, we're reworking how the episode is gone. So now Act 1, you have all of Act 1 immediately. Then we have 7 weeks of random things, which in this case, if you want to play Iron Banner, sure, there's Iron Banner. If you want to play Trials of the Weekend, sure, there's that. If you want to do an event, sure, it's going to be here for 3 of the weeks. But you have 7 weeks of between acts to go through. That is some boring time. So, again, I just have issues with how they're saying that people aren't liking this, because it feels like it was more consistent than ever when Echoes happened, and Revenant just feels like there is major lulls because the community wanted it, and now the community is possibly complaining that there's still lulls in the gameplay. But that's just me. Like I said earlier, that idea of another Riven's Wishes like thing, that's good. Honestly, we need those consistently for the end of the season, just because after the season wraps up, after there's no more events, it's just playing Destiny or cleaning up whatever you missed, even from past seasons. But at the same time, I just hope Heresy is a swing and a knock out of the ballpark. And I honestly hope, as an idea, Dreadnought is a patrol zone. For God's sakes. If we're just visiting the Dreadnought for seasonal activities, it's going to go about as well as Season of the Deep did with here. We're getting Titan back, but you're only there during a specific activity. Moving on, widening the focus. As Revenant approaches its final act, where you'll delve into the Dracula's Castle-inspired fortress, I want to take a moment to reflect on some of the feedback we received around Echoes and Revenant's story, as well as the hunger for purpose and meaning in a post-Witness world. Our first 2 episodes had a tight focus, establishing Maya Sundaresh and her Echo of Command as a force to be reckoned with. Fikrul re-emerged with the power to create an undead army for one last showdown with the Guardian and his dad. Wait, what? The Guardian is... It's possibly Mithrax. We set out to deliver our narrative promises, setting up the Light and Darkness saga, and we couldn't tie off in the final shape. The Kello-Kells, the Hive siblings showcasing the effect killing the Witness out in the world, and more. Prioritizing the satisfying conclusion, we want to clear a path for bold new storylines in the saga to come. In Heresy, we're widening the focusing of the story to the Hive Pantheon and ancient eldritch forces that shape the universe. The events of Heresy close the door on the Light and Darkness saga and act as a prologue into Codename Apollo, where the Guardian's purpose in the next saga starts to take focus. So story-wise, I do appreciate that. As we all knew with the end of, or with all of these episodes, it was wrapping up a few things. Yes, Zivur Roth was still wounded but alive at the end of Season of the Witch, but she was still out there. Savathun also still out there. For all we know, we're going to be killing her because it's talking about the entirety of the Hive siblings and Pantheon. With all of that, again, wrapping things up, Fikrul, I'm surprised it took so long for Fikrul to become a part of the story, but yeah, he was around since Forsaken, had not to be seen again except for the Nightmares, which weren't him. Regardless, it's nice to hope that we actually wrap up some old enemies that, will stay dead for the last time. And then, lastly, with the New Frontiers wrap-up. On a personal note, this past November marked their 5th year at Bungie. They have seen Bungie and Destiny go through many changes over the last decade. What remains constant is the player community and Destiny's team commitment and dedication to this one-of-a-kind space opera, and our drive to make Destiny, or take Destiny to places we could only have imagined a decade ago. It's appropriate that during Destiny's 10th anniversary, we reshape the game so we can continue the enduring legacy of this universe that millions of people call home. We're eternally grateful to Guardians for your passion and dedication to Destiny that enable us to chart new frontiers. And that is the end. Now, I've said pretty much all my piece on the individual parts. I feel like the reworking of the time frame of episodes is a bit unnecessary. They were fine the way they were, and even still, this is the last episode, so why change something that's only going to be around once, theoretically? But, I hope Revenant wraps up properly and the Dreadnought is fully there for Heresy. I do enjoy the fact they are listening to the fact that people weren't happy with the removal of craftable weapons, especially since, again, they said it perfectly, chasing rolls means filling up vault space, and even after getting additional 100, I'm already within 50 rounds. Then again, it's just vault issues. Exotics exist, rolls exist, old favorites, But then, breaking the bones of Destiny, I hope Portal is truly what they talk it up to be. It's supposed to be essentially the quick play option for anything Destiny, as I know they were talking about the solo ops idea for the more casual person to actually be well rewarded. I just hope that Bungie is actually cooking. Everyone knows that Bungie is in a bit of a corner when it comes to this right now, because episodes are a bit iffy in total, even if they are only temporary. I'm just going to hammer that in. You can have your negative opinion of episodes all you want. It's not staying forever. It's a bridge to gap into the next year of Destiny. But my ranting is over. My name is TheMadScorpyon. I will see you in the next video.